Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're well. So, today we're going to be deep diving into silver, the asset that sits right on the border or right in the middle between money and industry. So, gold is largely stored in things like jewelry, bars, central bank reserves. Silver gets used up across plenty of things from electronics to solar to infrastructure, and that changes the entire dynamic of scarcity and volatility. So, in this stream, we're going to be looking to frame silver properly, its history, the demand drivers, why silver often lags and then catches up aggressively when precious metals or when gold starts to move. We'll then zoom out and bring Bitcoin into the picture because Bitcoin is becoming a digital alternative to traditional hard assets, and it trades on liquidity and it trades on macro in its own way. So we're going to be asking the real questions. Are we going to get a powerful move in silver? Is it going to continue? Is the capital going to rotate into Bitcoin? And is that the next big higher alpha hard asset? Or is Bitcoin responding to a different set of triggers entirely? And as always, this is just for education purposes. It's not financial advice. And if the data changes, we change. Bill Noble, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Let's get straight into gold and silver and let's cover a little bit about the history of them. So, roughly, if you melt down all the gold, it roughly is enough to fill two Olympic size swimming pools worth of gold has already been mined. When it comes to silver, though, roughly 66 Olympic-sized pools of solid silver have already been mined. That means that above ground, there is approximately 33 times more silver than there is gold by volume. Importantly, both metals still have significant amounts in the ground and additional deposits yet to be discovered and mined. So what we see above ground is only part of the full picture. Nevertheless, there is far more silver than gold, and we see that reflected in the price of gold. Gold and silver have been used for money for the last 5,000 odd years, long before modern coins and paper notes and all this fiat system. And over the centuries, different monetary systems formed around them. So there has been a silver standard, there has been a gold standard, and there has been this mixed metallic standard as well, which is one of the which really depends on the era and the country that you're looking at. But the key point is that for much of recorded history, money has been anchored to scarce metals, not just in paper promises or fiat currency. Gold's demand comes from things like jewelry, investments, and central bank reserves, plus a small but a very important slice of gold is actually from technology for making electronics, because gold does not corrode, which is very, very important. Gold. Now let's talk about silver. Now, silver sits in this unique position because it's both a monetary metal and it's an industrial metal. And we spoke briefly about this in the last live stream. It's also important to people. People hold it as well. And it's something that the world is actively consuming. So it is a traditional store of value. There is that demand. It is investment. You do get investment coins. There's bars. There's ETFs. But alongside the jewelry and silverware, but a huge part of that now is industrial demand. Silver is used heavily in technology, especially electronics like connectors, circuit boards, switches, EV batteries, because it's the best conductor of any metal, and it performs reliably well in tiny components where efficiency really matters. Now, one of the fastest growing demands is solar. Well, silver is used as the conductive paste to help carry electricity out of the solar cells. Silver has also been used in EVs, like I said, and charging infrastructure, power grids, 5G technology, 5G equipment, soldering, manufacturing, and on top of that, silver is very strong, has a very strong anti-germ or germ fighting properties. So it's used in the medical settings like wound dressings and coatings, and it's also used in things like water filtration and hygiene related products, and also medical instruments as well. So silver can feel like it's scarcer than gold, especially when you have that massive long list of uses for silver. It's also used in the military as well, in bombs. And because a large portion of it is consumed in modern industries, it's difficult in ways that are difficult for it to be recycled. Now, unlike gold, because with gold, because it's stored in jewelry, it's stored in bullion, and it's stored in vaults, etc. Silver is frequently used in tiny amounts across millions of products, electronics, solar panels, conductors, switches, industrial components. So once this silver is used and it's spread so thinly across devices and infrastructure, it can end up in scrap, landfills, mixed metals, mixed materials, and all the rest of it, where recycling is not economical. So over time, even if we have still a lot of silver to mine, and there is a lot more silver than gold, a meaningful proportion of it is becoming lost. Just before I quickly go into the questions, just wanted to see who was in the chat. Good morning, Mike Volmer. I hope you're well. And John Legend, I hope you're well. Black Hat Team, I hope you're well. Randy finished early today. Okay, awesome. Yes, we do have, straight after this live stream, we do have a crypto story that's going to be going live, and it's with MJ. I met MJ at the CCCC conference last year. And he has a fantastic story, because there was a time where he had $1 million trade on in front of everyone. And literally he lost it in a minute. He lost that in a minute. And then obviously he's got his comeback story, because he's been doing so much for blockchain technology, and also entertainment wise, because he is educational wise, because he is one of the hosts of the radio station in Dubai, the one that goes 24/7. Can't remember what it's called. Hello, David. I hope you're well. Hello, Rob C. I hope you're well. Court, I hope you're well. Oh, yes, we'll be coming on to things like that. Oh my gosh. JP Morgan and the banks. Yep. And manipulation. We'll be dealing with that today as well. Okay, awesome. So, Bill, I had a couple of questions for you, literally just about silver. So, as silver is both a monetary metal, it's also got an industrial output. Which side of that is currently driving up the prices now? Is it the investment demand, or is it the industrial demand? Bearing in mind, China has also recently, at the beginning of the year, put in some export restrictions on silver and selling it abroad. Sorry, just give me 1 second. I've got a feeling. Yay!
Yay!
How are you?
Hey,
I'm
man.
good. How are you guys?
All good. Hi, Raiko, Moneybags. I hope you're well. Yeah, no, all good. We're just going through silver, and I just come to my first question. So yeah, so the first question literally
Oh,
was,
sorry, your show is started. I thought in 5 minutes from now. Hi, everybody.
oh, I am so sorry. We actually started a little bit early today because Randy
Oh,
finished a little bit early. Oh
it's
my
okay.
God, I should have said before you.
My bad. It's okay.
Okay, so we were just discussing silver. We've been through the history of silver, what it's been used as, and all the rest of it. So if silver is both a monetary metal, and we'll start off with you, Bill, first, if that's okay, and it's also an industrial output, what is currently driving the price of silver? Because it is going parabolic. Is it the investment demand or is it the industrial demand? And I just mentioned there as well that China has banned or put in export restrictions on silver as well. And that's more towards the industrial demand. Or are they simply, is gold and silver simply reacting to the geopolitical landscape? And we discussed this on previous live streams as well. When there's fear in the market, people look to safe havens and they often put their money into gold and silver. So, out of those three, investment demands, or industrial demands, or the geopolitical landscape, which is very turmoil at the moment, what do you think is creating this parabolic move?
The simple answer is the people who use it on an industrial level. Anybody who needs silver knows that this market, like sources are saying that generally speaking, there's 250 ounces of paper silver traded out there for every 1 ounce of silver that exists. So anybody who needs it knows that the game is up. And if they don't get it, if they don't use their futures contract to take delivery, they may not get it.
No, say that again. So basically, there's less silver and there's more paper silver. So just like the fiat, just like it is in fiat, then.
That's right. Right. In other words, theoretically, for a crypto analogy, I mean, they can create the Bitcoin ETF out of thin air. Bitcoin doesn't have to back the Bitcoin ETF necessarily. That's probably a whole other subject. But yes, silver is created and traded and shorted out of thin air. So somebody out there is holding a piece of paper that says, I can get silver, and the vaults are empty. And everyone knows it. The Chinese know it. The COMEX knows it. The banks know it. So anyone who's actually got to use it has got to get it. And then I'm sure there's large institutional speculative FOMO, because if this is the worst kept secret in the whole world, every dip is going to get bought by larger players, until it gets to some insane price target, which, like Bitcoin in 2017 and like any other commodity parabolic buying panic, it goes until it's so excessive, it's absurd. I don't think we're there yet.
Okay.
But the demand shock for now is what you're basically describing, right? Until it's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, someone's caught short. Either they have a trading short position or some industrial player that really needs it doesn't have it. And silver will get to a point where they have to switch from silver to copper for industrial purposes. But I mean, I'm hearing that price is like $125.
How about you, Formation? Do you think it's been this parabolic move? Is it more about it being a money metal, industrial output, or geopolitical landscape?
Maybe a combination, but what I think that there's also just a big bunch of psychology to it, like with every money market basically. But I think it's also that what we discussed one of the last times, it's maybe a very simplistic way of thinking, but maybe it's also one of the right ways, that people are looking for some kind of a flight to safety. Everything is still a little bit uncertain. You'll notice that everywhere. and then people move to gold. That makes sense. And maybe silver is kind of the Ethereum to its Bitcoin, right? Where people see it like, oh wow, gold is like now running. Yeah, it's expensive. Silver is still cheap, right? It's also 2 digits less, of course, in value. So maybe there's a lot of psychology involved as well. And yeah, personally, I would say I would be careful there. But then again, I also said that last time at $70, so I'm not gonna call that too much. But I think it's a lot of FOMO and panic buying right now, and I don't know. I'm always getting a little scared with these parabolic moves if I see it anywhere. Um,
So
so yeah, a lot of psychology, I think.
I think you're right. We'll bring in the charts later because I've got a couple of questions and I'll share the charts then as well. But I think you're absolutely right because I was actually if you go to Twitter or wherever, you do get to see that a little while ago they were literally queuing outside the shops down the line just to buy physical silver.
Yeah.
And in Bitcoin, what we tend to see in Bitcoin or what we say in Bitcoin. Oh, actually, let me bring this up. So, what's the best argument against all of this bullish narrative that's coming in, this bullish thesis right now? Because in crypto, we say that if you're not in a position before the parabolic move, you've missed it. So has silver already made its mega move? So with the 4-year cycle, obviously we have the halving and then we have the parabolic bull run, and then we have a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of months, but not very long. If you're not in before then and you get in as the price is going up, you're literally exit liquidity. And that's when a lot of people tend to get in. So it's one of these things. Has silver already made its parabolic move? Now, we were discussing this before, and I'm not going to put the charts up because I have put them up the last couple of live streams. But when we look out and the large, major, mega cycle that we had in silver, excluding probably what we've got now, was when the ETFs were approved in 2006, and we had 6 years of literally going upwards, very, very upwards. Noticeably in 2028, there was 1 year of heavy decline. But even in 2028, even though it was heavy decline, it started to recover in 2028. So we had silver go up for 6 years. So it's not like crypto where it's only like a couple of months. Silver is obviously it's in price discovery now. So short term wise, where do you see it in the next 12 or 24 months? Should we come to you first, Formation?
Yeah, well, while you're saying that, I'm looking at a chart for silver, and I will share it later. But I'm looking at the RSI, like, I mean, that applies on everything. Is it overbought, oversold, or whatever? And just by looking at the weekly RSI, it just stands out to me. The last time it was at these levels, that was 90.79, and that was the biggest blow off top we have ever seen. So I don't want to be bearish on it, though. I mean, it's running, and I'm not against it, but I am saying like it looks really overbought at the moment. But yeah, then again, who knows how long that could last? This is definitely not a place where I would say like, yes, go in. This could go easily on for another like 2 years. It could, maybe, and maybe this is a local top, and same as what gold did. But it's just looking really overheated to me, at least.
So maybe a pullback, maybe a little pullback before continuing, or
well, yeah, the little pullback would be a best case scenario if you want to compare it with what happened to the 1980s, what there declined with 90%. It won't be like that now, probably, but yeah, I mean, we have to look at history, right? A little bit. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
What about you, Bill Noble?
Okay, so as Formation mentioned, like in 1980, that was a stunt by a group of guys called the Hunt brothers to literally try and corner the market, literally actually create an artificial short squeeze. And then once that was unwound, price collapsed. Okay, this one for a variety of reasons is an actual short squeeze at a humongous scale. So what happens tactically, I think, particularly since you have a solar eclipse coming up in mid-February, eclipse magnify trends and then they end them. So you could have like a 4-week buying panic, particularly since it's official that the Japanese government bond market is falling apart, like as of today. And it's probably going to take our bond market with it. So that can enhance this monetary safety panic bid that's there. So, and like all commodities, like commodities were crypto before crypto. So these things can get ridiculous. They look absurd. They look overbought. It looks insane. The insane in the very short term may get more insane. And as FOMOTION mentioned, when the music does stop, you could have 96 to 147 back to something like that.
I'm a bit more bullish, I think, on silver.
What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I do think we will run with silver for a bit longer, literally because we have all of this geopolitical concern as well. So it's not just I don't know how many countries are on Trump's hit list now, apart from what is it? It's Greenland and it's Canada and
Colombia.
I don't know how. Yeah, there's like literally so many, but the thing is, there's no stopping him as well, and the propaganda that he's putting out as well. There's no stopping him, and he's in power for I just think geopolitically wise, not everybody is in Bitcoin. Not everybody loves Bitcoin, and I can understand that. I can understand why, and all the rest of it, because these metals have like 5,000-year history behind them. As much as we love Bitcoin, it does not have that history behind it, and all the rest of it. Although Web3 will be built on blockchain technology, so it has the future in front of it. But I just do think, one, because of the industrial demand on it, two, that although that tiny amounts of silver are they're just going to landfill and all the rest of it, and it's a monetary asset and all the rest of it. I do think it can run for a little bit longer as well, and we will also get into the market cap of silver, because I think that's really, really important. Just before we do that, I had another quick question. So gold's demand is very heavily financial. So it's jewelry, and if you look at parts of the world, especially India and that sort of area, Pakistan, where I'm from, jewelry is given a lot. Gold is really is literally in people's hands. Women are wearing it all the time. So it's jewelry, it's things like investors, it's central banks, all the rest of it. Silver has, or has it not? But central banks don't hold silver or pay as much silver, or we don't think they pay as much interest to silver in the same way. So have the banks been caught off guard with this run? Bearing in mind, they've always known that silver's more volatile. They always have known that when gold moves, silver's going to move. And because it's a lower market cap, it's far more volatile, and you can actually make more on silver like that. Or are they just not interested in gold the way that they are in silver? If we start off with you, Bill Noble, this is right up your street. What do you think?
Okay, well, I think for central banks, their interest in silver is what large banks within their systems are short, right? In other words, is JP Morgan, UBS, Citibank, do these banks have some kind of derivatives position? You can Google and see, every 5 years, these banks are getting caught, fined for manipulation. It's the worst kept secret in the world. So a central bank will be concerned if there's a bank in their jurisdiction that's short. Central banks will also be looking at, like I said, some of the shocking price action that's going on in Japanese bonds today. Like you had a 30 basis point move in a 30-year bond, and you're like, oh wow, Bill, what's that mean? I mean, that is shocking. The only time I've ever seen that is on like an emergency rate increase. That's unbelievable. This is, like the Japanese 30-year bond is trading like an altcoin. And now when you have that type of stuff happens, they're going to grab anything for safety. They're going to grab gold. They're going to grab silver. They're probably going to eventually grab Bitcoin. But I mean, that's why central banks would care about silver. It's like, oh my God, not only is it a buying panic, but is there a problem with the bank? And is there something wrong with the system? And we both know what the answer to that is right now. The answer is yes.
Mm-hmm. Just like with Iran's currency purchasing power, it lost almost all of its purchasing power literally overnight. So it depends how much gold, silver, these hard assets it's got. And I know it's been mining Bitcoin for a while. But Formation, what about you?
It's not really my field with banks, to be honest. So I can do a wild guess, but I don't have much to add to what Bill actually said to it. I do think it is overall all it. Yeah, there's a difference always between what something feels like and what it probably is going to be. But it feels like a lot is kind of falling apart, and it might be just some kind of a reset, and it makes sense that that is eventually bullish for assets like gold, silver, and crypto. But yeah, specifically for banks, I, to be honest, don't really know much enough about that to come here and pretend that I do. So I'm gonna skip that one.
Right. And nobody does, to be honest with you. I mean, it's like the big mystery.
Yeah,
Nobody knows who is so short. When we finally know, it'll be over, but no one actually knows.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of speculation and I don't know, a lot of theories about it, and one could be correct, the other could be correct, but at the end of the day, yeah, I have no idea. I think, like, who am I to speculate on that on camera? No, I don't know.
Okay, so if we look, what I've got here is we're going to talk a little bit about money rotation. So the orange line is Bitcoin. The yellow line is gold, and the gray line is silver, ranging along happily. Now, this is going into 2024. All three of them are ranging along happily. Nothing too interesting here. Gold is going up. It's continuously going up. Then we get to round about here. Where is it? Yeah, September, October, the 6th of October. So it was our all-time high in crypto, 6th of October, 2025. And Bitcoin just goes down. It's literally dumping. And you see from a little bit earlier, maybe from August, the summer-ish, gold is still taking off, but this is where the parabolic move in silver started to happen. And since then, so we had October where we started to go down. Round about the same time, silver has gone absolutely parabolic. Let me just quickly remove that. So silver has gone absolutely parabolic, and what we see is what we see is gold and silver fly on fear, market fear, geopolitical fear, economical concerns, all the rest of it. The more bearish everyone is, the more these two assets really do very, very well. Now, Bitcoin, I actually think that should be the case for Bitcoin, because you put your money into a hard asset. Bitcoin is a hard asset. It has a cap of 21 million million Bitcoins. It's actually a better cap, or it has a better cap than all of these metals put together. But what you see for Bitcoin is it moves on liquidity. It moves on regulation. It moves on institutional investment adoption, and it moves on NFT flows, things like that. So Bitcoin has done the opposite of what gold and silver have done. So they are both, all of them, they're different hedges for different times and different things. At one point, how likely is it that gold and silver will rotate? I've got the wrong one up. Gold and silver will rotate into Bitcoin. Now, I've taken this off crypto Twitter, and I thought it was an absolutely amazing chart. So what you have here is you have gold going up, and then it rolls over, it kind of goes sideways. Around the same time, you have the 2017 bull run, Bitcoin takes over, and then Bitcoin goes sideways. Gold is going up, and then it rolls over, it goes sideways. And what you see is the first part of the 2021 bull run for Bitcoin, which is absolutely amazing because it kind of feels like it's rotating. Whether or not it's actually doing it, we'll see, because we also run on the halving cycle as well. And here you can see now that gold has had its runoff. Bitcoin has gone down. Is it going to run again? Who knows? So what we've seen in the past is that there is a similarity in between there. Now, Bitcoin is a very baby. It's a baby asset. We don't really know how it's going to perform in the future. But we have seen gold and precious metal, gold and silver run on fear, geopolitical and macro concerns. Bitcoin run on different things like liquidity and bullish news and regulations and all the rest of it. Do we think that gold and silver will rotate, or silver will rotate into Bitcoin?
Okay, I think Bitcoin eventually following is more than logical. I mean, I think the rotation is going to be out of U.S. equities into the Bitcoin ETF. Like certain tech stocks, their earnings are coming out. Just seems logical to go from something that's completely overbought. Silver may be one of those things well above 100. But it's a question of time before people discover Bitcoin, especially since I think some sort of liquidity injection has to happen somewhere, especially from the Fed. Yeah. I mean, how can you have destruction in bond market in Japan lead to destruction in the bond market in the United States when we have to finance $11 trillion in government debt? Yeah. I mean, this is like world-ending stuff. Everyone's talking about Greenland and how that's going to be the end of the world, folks. That's not the end of the world. That's Twitter theater. Okay, this thing where, you have like a non-functioning government bond market in Japan, and then you have something over here. You have the stock market at all-time highs, and people are acting like there's no problems. Folks, this is what Bitcoin was designed for. So if you look at silver way overbought and Bitcoin way oversold, eventually, just like with Silicon Valley Bank in 2023, right? Interest rates went up in the US, a bank failed. And then if you go back to 2023, once that bank failed, Bitcoin went straight up. There were like 4 God candles in 6 weeks. And this is not different. This is not different at all, except it's just at the sovereign level, which means you could have more volatility on the downside. You could have a scary move. Eclipses create scary price action.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I think a lot of people don't really understand that these things are really taken. What's the saying, Bill? You'll know the saying. Something that millionaires don't look at. I don't know what it is, but
right. Millionaires don't look at Gann and astrology. Billionaires do.
Billionaires do. Yeah.
I mean, and I understand that people look. You can make fun of a lot of the astrology or Gann work. Gann used a lot of it. He was a famous technical analyst. Look, if you looked at things like full moons and eclipses, especially the eclipses, they've always been huge inflection points. FTX crash started on an eclipse. The 2023 bull run started on one. Again, you don't have to believe in it. All I know is there's one on February 17th. There's a Fed meeting, etc. So, ask a cop or a guy who drives EMS what it is like the night of a full moon. I know it's stretch, but technical analysts way back were famous for being, kind of like believing in voodoo. And I believe in that particular voodoo, right? This is a trend expansion. Eclipses, they expand trends. They also reverse trends. So I think silver expands, and then I think crypto reverses on February 17th, if not sooner.
Mm.
Going back to what we were discussing, formation about the rotation, we have seen that that chart where Bitcoin, where it seems like gold is rotating into Bitcoin. Whether or not it's doing that, I'm not entirely sure because Bitcoin is still a baby. But do you think once these precious metals, etc., when they hit their all-time highs, a lot of money is going to rotate into Bitcoin? Now, we do see that as well with Bitcoin, because normally what happens is Bitcoin dominance goes up. People make a lot of money in Bitcoin in Bitcoin. And then we see that rotation where they take profits and then they're happy to invest in slightly more speculative altcoins, and then they, and that starts off the alt season and they're investing in altcoins. Is that the same sort of thing that we could potentially be looking at?
Yeah, I think that the rotation within crypto is, of course, a lot easier than rotation from metals into crypto or something like that. So that will probably happen sooner, right? From Bitcoin to altcoins and vice versa. But yeah, I think eventually it will. The thing is, though, that like gold and silver, they don't have much to prove. And crypto still has, right? Like altcoins definitely have, if there's something to prove in the first place with most of them. But for Bitcoin, yeah, it is new, it is digital, it is vulnerable. So a lot of people, they are still in either a generation that just permanently says no to it, or it just needs time. And the question is, how much time is that? Yeah, that could be very easily triggered by something that Bill said, like whatever happens on February 17 or anything else. I think it's all, I just think about it like one big, domino, and we need the first domino to fall and the rest will follow. And what I mean by that is we need something, and it could be anything that's bullish for the market for Bitcoin, whether it's the Clary, I don't know. And then there is a lot of money, sitting in gold and silver and wherever, that looks at this market now running, and that could trigger the whole rotation. So I think that like whenever the rotation happens, it will be freaking big, I think, actually, because there is a lot of money and there's a lot of refinancing. There is a lot. And if there's not much, then they print more. Then there's a lot after the print. Like, that's not a problem. But we just need a trigger for the rotation. Yeah, and these things are so unpredictable. You can, if it's obvious, then it's not going to happen. If it's not obvious, then you probably won't think about it. So it will happen. The question is when, and I honestly think it's going to be very big whenever it happens.
Yeah, whenever it happens. Okay, let's talk about manipulation, because we know there's a lot of manipulation in Bitcoin and in the crypto market. Now, gold is currently sitting at a market cap of 32 trillion US dollars. That's a very heavy market. It's going to take a lot to manipulate gold. Then we've got silver. Now, silver is sitting at a market cap of around about 5 trillion US dollars. Now, it can be manipulated. It does take very big, very strong players to manipulate silver at that market cap, because it is very, very huge. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is sitting at a market cap of just around about or just under 2 trillion US dollars. Now, again, it's going to take big players to manipulate Bitcoin. However, it is possible. Bitcoin and crypto are manipulated all the time. It could be anything like, tweets on Twitter from people like big heavyweights like Donald Trump or Elon Musk, or announcements from the government, or anything like that, it can impact the price of Bitcoin. Now, when we talk about market manipulation, this is something that I know about, and I've known about it for a while, because this was back in 2020. 2020, so almost 6 years ago. So JP Morgan Chase and Co agreed to pay 920 million US dollars in connection to schemes to defraud precious metals and US Treasury markets. So what we had in this article was the Department of Justice saying that JP Morgan and Chase agreed to pay this huge amount of money to avoid
prosecution.
You wanted to say prostitution?
I have. Okay.
Change the stream time if we're doing that. That too.
And all the rest of it, because it was criminal wired fraud charges that they were going up against on two running schemes, one in precious metals and the other in treasury markets. Now, in the precious metal scheme, and this was actually going back to 2008, 2016, traders repeatedly placed large orders that they intended to cancel, spoofing to mislead other market participants about the real supply and demand and profit, and that resulted in price movements. Now, the Department of Justice also mentioned episodes involving barrier options and similar proofing patterns as well in the treasury products, and there was a lot of media speculation about this. Now, currently, there's a lot of media speculation about silver, that it's been suppressed, that it's been manipulated. Now, we just saw earlier this year China saying that it was going to put restrictions on exports. So what are your thoughts when it comes to silver and silver manipulation, considering the market cap is $5 trillion US dollars?
I mean, you can have algorithms move around big tech stocks, like when their earnings comes out or news comes out, the Magnificent Seven stocks can swing 10, 15%. So, I mean, those instruments can be moved around. Now, when it comes to, the word manipulation, manipulation in markets is as old as the hill. Big players can move markets around. Central banks can move markets. Whales can move markets in Bitcoin, right? I mean, in crypto. Now, in crypto, what happens is it's like lightning strikes and everyone's liquidated, right? Like if you use leverage trading instruments, right? Like Watcher Guru says, such and such amount of millions or billions liquidated in crypto today. Legacy, it's kind of like slow motion, right? Yeah, right now, anybody who's short silver is getting destroyed, ended. And one of the reasons for that is because you have this industrial shock, right? So everyone is scrambling. And then anybody who has been short or fooling around or whatever, this sovereign shock that's happening where you have problems in multiple bond markets, that's just adding fuel to it. So we're going from manipulation to panic, right? In other words, FOMOTION said it. This is now psychological. Banks have fooled around with this. Banks fool around with everything. It's right now it's psychological, and it's on the verge of getting emotional, like very emotional. That's why FOMOTION is like a chart guy. When he looks at the chart, he's like, ugh. This is it's going to get emotional. It could get very emotional because that's the history of commodities. Commodities were almost a laughable asset class in the 70s. Hedge funds loved them because they behaved like crypto, not like stonks. It's been a while since we've seen something this emotional in commodities, and it's happening. And again, because this thing overseas with Japanese bond markets, I mean, to give it to you in a nutshell, Very simple. Their banks, the Japanese year end is the end of March. That's their financial year end. So if the Japanese assets on bank balance sheets, like bonds, right? Japanese bonds are destroyed. They have to make up and make their books look good. They're going to have to sell something else. Well, what else do they own? US bonds. US bonds get sold. US rates go up. Mortgage rates go up. Stocks freak out. And this ball is in motion right now. So if you have an emotional silver market and then a real problem developing, that's when psychological goes to emotional, can become like a mania. Now, obviously, what we want is we want the emotion. We want the mania. We don't just want the asset allocation. We want that emotion to move over into crypto. That's what moves crypto. Now, Army Piper's out there. He's a 4-year cycle guy. He's like, yeah, come see me in October for the real emotion in crypto. And he could be right. He could be right. But eventually this energy, call it energy, this energy is coming our way. It's what crypto was designed for.
I think if anything does happen to Japan as well, I think a lot more people will be looking into crypto, because that was what Bitcoin was designed for. That was why Bitcoin was created, to get away from all of this, because the bankers don't behave. They've never behaved. What about you, Formation? What do you think about all this all this noise that there currently is, that the prices of silver has been suppressed, it's been manipulated, and all the rest of it?
Yeah, look, people like to speculate on the word manipulation, like basically buying and selling is manipulation on its own. Like when is it manipulation? But I get what they mean, and maybe that's actually the case. But if that's the case, that could only be a good thing, because it's the same like with crypto. People see Bitcoin go up and they feel like I missed out, so I'm going to look for the next best thing. Now, I think that people are now still looking at silver like, oh, okay, I can still get in and do that FOMO buying. But at a certain point, when things really stabilize at prices like this, or somewhat lower or higher or whatever, I think that people then start to look at it and be like, you know what, I missed out. What's next? And that could be a trigger, one of the triggers for the shift to crypto. Can I show you a chart in the meantime?
Yeah.
Because like I said, I was looking at it at silver now. If you look at the weekly, look, I like charts simply because this shows all the psychology, all the thinking, all the narratives, everything is in here. Because if all these things didn't matter, then we wouldn't see it on the charts in the first place. And it helps you to turn off your emotions very well. And like I said, when I look at silver right now and I look at this RSI, yeah, it can go on for a while. And the last time, like I said, it was 90.79. Yeah, we had that huge crash where silver went from like $50 all the way back to $3. Now, again, I'm not saying or implying that that will happen, but if you look at every single time, basically, the RSI was somewhat overheated. These are all, like in crypto, we call this a blow off top, the end of the bull market. Overall, for silver, this was more like a local top. But every one of these places was a big local top. And I think that the retail that is going to buy this right now is going to feel the same as they would have bought altcoins at the end of 2024. And I think it is good that people stop looking at how they feel when they see such a chart and actually look at what they see. By the way, Bill, you're gonna like the. I'm building real quick for my own app a playground where you have all these metrics with Bitcoin dominance, excluding stable coins.
Oh my God!
But
Yeah, I'm gonna love that.
also where you can just simply look at, for example, only small caps. That's what you don't get on TradingView. But also silver, gold. You can combine everything against each other. You can compare this situation to the previous bull market, see how similar it is. Well, I'm not going to show that, but it is not really similar to any top, at least. And that's a little off topic, but I just want to have that said. I think that that's one of the reasons, though, that this run in silver, you cannot get such a run without it having eventually a big impact on everything else, including crypto, whether it's for the good or the bad. And from what I'm seeing and creating so far, it looks like that's going to be more adopting all of this than that it's going to crash with it, actually. um but yeah, I think that we should be a little cautious at this point, to be honest. That's kind of the message that I have.
I mean, personally, I wouldn't buy silver now because I've been in crypto for so long, and I've got that mentality that if you're not in the project, or you're not in, you're not in before the parabolic move, you've kind of missed it, if that makes sense. What's this information?
Well, this is Bitcoin divided by the gold silver sector. So that's pretty interesting because it's, again, not a lot of history, but this is somewhat of a parallel channel, actually. And we are sitting quite close to the bottom. Now, it is nice to see that if you look at the monthly RSI, it's kind of the opposite, right? So it confirms, it's not confirming a bottom, but it is showing me like, okay, this could technically also be an explanation for a rotation within now and a relative short time frame. Let's call it somewhere end of Q1, Q2 maybe. But this is more technically backing up all the things that we just tried to explain fundamentally.
That's
interesting.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us. So just very quickly, we do have, and if the mods can put the link back into the chat, we are rolling over to a crypto story from MJ, who lost $1 million in a trade in literally a minute. And then obviously his comeback as well, and his journey in blockchain technology. So that's coming up next. I think we should cover the Japanese bond market, or we should cover, the Japanese yen next week. So for those people who are unaware, we're here every Tuesday for me, it's 3:45 GMT. I'm not entirely sure what the time is for everyone else. So yeah, do join us next week. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you all on the crypto story after the stream. Bill's details and Formation's details are in the descriptions. Do go and follow their channels as well. But that's brilliant. Thank you so much for everyone. And we'll see you next week.